All right, here we are at the backstage at the Palomino before the Collins Kids' first rockabilly appearance ever here, I suppose, right?
The very first one, doing all of our own music, and for many, many years.
Yeah, we did. We have worked here before, probably 15, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how far back Lori would like for me to go, but
that's about far enough.
But quite a ways back, and but this is the first time to do all rockabilly, which Lori and I really enjoy doing our music from the 50s, and it'll be all the way from Beetlebug Bop to Mercy to Early American to Hurricane and all the things we love.
So in the 50s, I didn't know about you locally because I wasn't here, but then you did pop up on lots of national TV shows, right? I mean, were you on Sullivan?
Yeah, Steve Allen, Arthur Godfrey, and our first network television show, I believe, was the first live television broadcast from the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee. They flew us from here to go back and do that show, and which was quite an honor for Lori and I.
Now, from some of the histories I've been reading about how the West Coast was a little more rock and roll oriented than Nashville, in the country field at least. Does that ring a bell with you? Does that make sense? I mean, were you slightly more raucous than what was being done on the Grand Ole Opry at that time when you made your debut there?
I think
absolutely,
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. There was a definite trend out here that didn't take place there at all. And it's interesting that now the music from California during that period of time is really coming in to full circle. It's wonderful.
Especially in Europe, as you know.
Oh, yes. So how was the first English Day? What was that like for you?
Our first Hinsby Festival, we did that, last year? Mm-hmm. And it was wonderful to hear 5,000 kids singing Beetlebug Bop. And they live, eat, breathe, and sleep rockabilly music. And they even have refrigerators from the 50s. You know, these people believe it, and so do we. It's wonderful, and they're all young kids too. You know, it's that younger generation. And the concert promoters, I said, well, you get that many kids, you know, what kind of problems you having? He said, well, they don't have any drug problems because drugs wasn't around in the 50s. And the only thing they will do is have a few beers. Maybe more than a few, but it's all good, clean fun, you know.
Now, I had you on my Rockabilly show 10 years ago that I did at Club Lingerie for the introduction of the LA Rockabilly album I did. And you were aware that at least me and 40 other people were interested in the Collins Kids stuff, but it still took you 10 years from that to get on stage. Now, enough money, and what else prompted you to get on and do it?
Well, I think the reissues of all of our records at Sony and Bear Family and CBS they're putting out, and the popularity of the music. It really feels good to know that the things we did in the 50s have come full circle, and that music is really hot again. I think it's the popularity and the sales of the records, which is
you know, and also of course our first show we did was in England, and the promoters were so adamant and just kept persevering until we finally said yes.
They were after us for 3 years to come before we actually consented to go.
So they finally made us realize that our music was big over there, and it's such a wonderful feeling to be appreciated, you know, finally. So we couldn't stay away, and once we went, it was just like a dream come true. We couldn't believe it.
We're going back this year, as a matter of fact, in October of this.
Well, next year.
Next year, right.
But what about the first time you stepped on the stage? I mean, they're telling you you're popular, but you don't know whether to believe them or not. I mean, was it pretty good?
It was scary before we went on.
It was a little scary, but it just came unglued. It was like, wow, this is 1955, and this is great. She looked at me, and I looked at her, and we went for it. You know?
Oh, it was
and
so
did
exciting.
The crowd. And what's really neat is they know the lyrics to everything, and they sing along with you, and they know exactly how the instrumental should be. They don't want any ad-libs, or they want it to be the same, you know, and that's what we do. We don't vary from what the originality was at that time. And so one thing Lori and I feel anyway, that was music that came out of our hearts and our soul, and so it's a natural thing now.
What do you think happened back then? Because now we look at those kinescopes that have been floating around recently of you guys on Town Hall Party and stuff. And it's so phenomenal, yet it didn't really make it then. Now, looking back, I'm sure you've looked back on it and wondered yourself, do you have any idea now? I had a theory that maybe kids didn't want to see kids. I don't know, because there were no popular kids.
There wasn't really any at that time.
No. You got me on that. Go.
Well, I don't know, really. I don't know what's made it all happen for us now, but I think that's probably a very good possibility. We were young, extremely young, and we seemed to appeal at that particular time, I think, more to adults than we did to our own age group, don't you think,
Probably
or
so,
teenagers?
Yeah.
And now, of course, it's just the opposite, although we do have a big following with adults also that watched us kind of, grow up, that sort of thing. But that's I don't really know. I don't think I can put my finger on it. All I am is happy that it's happening.
I mean, there were quite a few singles on CBS, and I guess your dad was managing you.
Yes, he did for a while. Yeah.
And there was a certain amount of promotion, a certain amount of going around to CBS conventions and stuff like that for you? I mean, there was a proper amount of push or some kind of push behind your records, or maybe not?
No, there were, everybody worked hard, and we had some mediocre hits here and there, and in Europe especially. And but Laurie and I were always considered a television act or an entertaining act, an act that you'd go see because of our energy level on stage, But as far as records, they're selling better now than they ever have, which is wonderful.
Now, you were one of the only gals around doing it. I mean, now, were you friends with, or did you spend much time with maybe the only other prominent gal singer from that time, which is Wanda Jackson?
Yes, in fact, she was on, Larry and I, of course, were on Town Hall Party, and she would come out quite often and do the show, and we became very good friends because I think we were kind of, admired each other, kind of both doing the same thing, and became really friendly with her and also her husband now.
Laurie and I were very fortunate, starting so young in the business in the 50s. We got to see and work with everybody from Johnny Cash to every star that would come to the West Coast from anywhere would always work on our local television show, Town Hall Party. And so consequently, we got to meet and know and become friends, very good friends with just about everybody in the business, at that time.
I never dreamed I'd be talking to the Collins kids about their current rockabilly tour. It's pretty great. Let's take a look at some footage from that current tour. They're doing Let's Have a Party, a Wanda Jackson song, or Elvis song, depending on how you look at it. It's their first encore that night. It's terrific. And Larry does a double neck guitar duet with Derek Dickerson from the Dave and Deke combo. A lot of D's there. With the Dave and Deke combo, who are backing him up.